Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. This is the Man vs. Mood podcast. I am your host, Will, joined today by the entire crew. To my left, we start with
Gary. How's it going, everybody?
Gary in the house, followed by
Mike to the right of Gary, or left of Gary.
That's Mike is directionally challenged. And last, but certainly not least,
we
got Jen.
Jen in the house as well. Jen, I think, does know which way is right and left.
But not up and down.
I was waiting for that. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Today we are gathered around on a Monday morning. This is Monday. I like this. This was actually, in the chat I sounded surprised, but I was very thankful because this is a good time for me to do this type of thing.
Great way to start the week.
Absolutely great way to start the week, and a lot of times anxiety and me love to come together on Monday mornings.
We're just glad you showed up on time.
Yeah, well, it was a little bit late, but
I showed up a minute before you just
I saw your car there. I was like, damn it, Gary beat me.
I must be late.
Samsonite, I was way off. But today we're going to tackle a challenging topic for I think everyone or anyone can in some way, shape, or form understand and appreciate the topic at hand, which is the holidays and their stresses that can come about that we place upon ourselves, that others cause and place upon us. There's a million different ways to go down this, but we all have our own kind of experiences and individual stories when it goes this with this type of topic. So, of course, before we get into the topic of the day, the soup du jour flow, we want to talk about what we're blessed. And as Mike tries to destroy the microphone with his fancy hand thing, we're all, and even better, I think, starting with something blessed on a Monday morning when everyone seems to, and I've never understood that. Monday is just, you've got to have it to get to Friday.
But it comes every week.
Yeah.
You don't get to choose.
And frankly, I think Tuesday is worse than Monday.
Oh, agreed.
I think Sunday is worse than Monday for a lot of people.
Yeah,
it's like,
okay, I can get
God,
that.
I got to go to work tomorrow.
But then you got to look at what is causing that. And if there's a way that you can either make the situation better or alleviate that completely by leaving a job that you don't like.
I was going to say probably just liking your job.
Yeah.
Start a podcast.
Yeah, exactly, right? But no, it's Sundays are cooking days at my house, and that's why I was probably late because I'm bloated from all the Chex Mix I ate yesterday. No shit. Holy moly, about rolled my ass out of the house this morning to the gym.
Chex Mix, okay. What kind of Chex Mix? What are we talking here? We're not talking Muddy Buddy style, are we?
No, we make it. We make it with Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire.
Yes.
What is that?
That's like Schmiedish.
Yeah,
Worcestershire. Gotcha.
Yes. It's Lee and Perrin's Worcestershire sauce.
Were you drinking a little of the Worcestershire sauce?
No, I was not drinking any of the. I was
lay off the Worcestershire
taking
sauce.
shots of it because of the sardines in it. Just I love them. Or no, anchovies, not sardines.
Anchovies.
It's like what?
No, but no, it's got the rice, corn Chex, mixed nuts, Cheerios. It's all gluten-free, lots of butter, seasoning, salt, Worcestershire sauce.
Okay.
A little more butter.
And more Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure that's how we pronounce it at my house, too.
You must not be using the wheat Chex then.
No wheat Chex.
Corn and rice.
And did you know that Cheerios are gluten-free?
Yes.
That is not something many people knew, like me.
Interesting.
Do you know Cheerios also works if you're trying to potty train a boy? Shoot the targets.
Oh, there you go.
They're like, what?
Shoot the targets. What happens if one gets stray and anyway?
Well,
we don't need to get into potty
miss.
training. Yeah, might. I think
might.
they will.
I'm like high probability.
Anyway, so today's Monday. Jen, what do you feel blessed about on this beautiful
I was going to go last
day?
again.
No, we flipped the script.
Flipped it around. It sounds strange, but I'm actually grateful for quiet mornings. That's kind of a weird way to look at it.
No, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Aren't they like powerful? Like they recharge you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got my kids off to school this morning, and I knew we were recording, and I had a little time.
It makes you.
But I cleaned just a little bit, and I was standing in my kitchen trying to make sure I got everything. And I was looking at my kitchen, and I was just thinking, it's so quiet. this is kind of nice. And then I gave myself a second to just sit and sip on my tea. And like, honestly, my nervous system is super, like, needs that. It needs some quiet moments of like, nobody's talking to me. Nobody's expecting me anywhere. I'm just thinking about my needs and what I need to do for the day. And it's like, I don't know, it feels really meditative. So quiet mornings, I'm grateful for those.
That's awesome. Yeah. Mike?
I am grateful that I'm done stringing Christmas lights.
Oh, yes. Although, if I remember correctly, Hunter was the one that was putting the most of them up.
Hunter did do it all. Wink. Actually, he got up on the ladder and he hooked up all the clips, so I was just kind of doing the groundwork. But I did Michelle's house yesterday.
Oh.
And so her son Logan and I were doing that, and we went all Clark Griswold on their house.
You had to hit the nuclear reactor backup generator.
Yeah, I plugged into the police officer's house next door. He doesn't know it yet, but he'll see the extension cord tomorrow.
Minor details, it's all right.
Yeah, right. I'm just stealing from the cop next to me.
I'm like, good luck.
Right. Gary, what are you thankful for on this fine day?
What I'm thankful for, I got two things. So the first,
only one.
No.
So
no, I want to hear both.
the first thing that I was thankful for was I'm glad to be able to do this podcast at 9 a.m. on Mondays too, because I woke up today and I thought I was late for work because I'm so used to like waking up at Monday at like 3 a.m. to be to work at 4. So to wake up and kind of have a minor freak out, like, oh, I'm late to work. I gotta call in.
Great though.
Yeah, definitely.
That's like winning a lottery ticket. When you realize that you're not late, you can't go back to sleep or anything, but it does feel pretty cool.
I was like, I didn't set my alarm. Damn it, man.
Well, at least you didn't drop your winning lottery ticket in the toilet like Will did.
Yeah,
that's something not to be grateful for.
Yeah. Probably telling me something.
So my second thing is just minor. So I want to say it was last time after the last podcast ended, we kind of just sat around and talked. And, for me, like I'm trying to be more open and honest and stuff. And one of the things that I was more open and honest about was I eat cereal and water.
Oh my God.
This was life altering for me.
I think we all were like, what?
Because we just thought it was on Friday that occurred.
Listen, Craig did it. I can do it too from Friday. Listen, I've been doing it since I was a little kid. My grandma's been doing it forever, and she just told me to do it. And I hate the taste of milk. I'm not lactose intolerant, but listen, I might lose some friends over saying this. I just want to put that out there.
That is banana lands to me. And you were so nonchalant about it. You're like, I just got the Lucky Charms down or whatever, and I just hit the tap water.
I could not
and I was like, record scratch. Wait a minute. You just tried to go right past the fact that you put.
It's minor details.
That's not minor, man. That's like giving a kid a birthday cake with no frosting.
I would still enjoy that, though, so that's not a good one.
But yeah, it's funny because
it's a muffin.
I hate soggy cereal. Like I can't do the sogginess. Like I have to. Sometimes I'll use like tap water or faucet water. It just depends on how good I feel like treating myself.
Use smart water too if you want to feel smart.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Sometimes I'll mix it with some smart and some tap. just to balance it out a little bit.
Wow.
But reverse osmosis water. And
wait, I need to know: is there any sparkling water involved?
No.
Pierre.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, right.
And
gotta draw the line somewhere.
Like
okay.
I like to mix like almond milk and stuff like with my shakes for like working out. Mm-hmm. But I've never tried that with my cereal.
I do that.
You've never tried almond milk on your cereal?
I
use almond milk.
I might throw up. But the thing is,
no, almond milk doesn't taste like milk.
So
do you like almonds though?
I do.
Okay.
So Golden Grams and water might be one of the best things ever.
Oh my goodness.
Might be one of the finest delicacies
We'll maybe the last podcast.
We'll do a little video of us all having Gary's holiday treat.
Absolutely not. No.
Yes. You are not putting me through
I agree with Mike. Deal.
Okay, only if people. Okay.
I'll try it. I'll try anything once.
Really?
Depends on the cereal, though. It really does. I mean,
there's a lot of mitigating factors to what we're talking about here.
I think if you have enough sugar,
flavor options.
If you have enough sugar, I think it adds the water.
Which is probably why Golden Grams is
definitely. So Golden Grams, Raisin Bran, and Honey Nut Cheerios. Oh man, good stuff.
Raisin Bran and water. Just say it out loud for me, man. So that
Raisin Bran and water is delicious.
I think we just lost half of our listeners.
I know people are literally crashing. This is going to get released as like major pileup on I-205 as people learn enjoys water and Raisin Bran.
See, I thought you were gonna say Lucky Charms or like
No.
Twix that are super like high in sugar and
Yeah.
flavory. But I was not expecting Raisin Bran.
I don't enjoy it. I love it. Okay.
Oh my god.
It's like on your
love this
Instagram
so much.
profile, like, I'm Gary, I've got a son, and I
Yeah.
eat water and
Well,
Raisin
Cereal?
Bran.
I know what we can buy him for Christmas now.
There you go.
What, bottle of water?
No, boxes of cereal and cases of water.
Yeah, I just,
I might have to change my name on IG to Serial Man 503.
yes.
Because-
Cereal and water 503.
Oh yes.
No,
and water.
serial killer. Okay, because you have murdered the whole industry with this take, man.
Actually, just drowning it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I just can't do it. Because I visualize. You know, when you do that, you go visual with something, and seeing water drip off of my spoon back into the plate with the non-nutritive cereal enhancer on it. No, I can't.
But it's
Nuts.
But it's so funny because it's like
Wow. Why didn't we just have that on video? Mike doing the microphone limbo.
no, that was like
But he didn't
Ninja
hit it.
Warrior, I think.
Yeah.
It's like
He's going to get cereal and water right now,
Is that
I'm
what
sure.
he's doing? Oh my gosh.
He's-
Okay.
Oh,
We're
he
doing-
is. He's getting it.
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, well, while we wait for that, you got anything else?
So yeah, like for me, it's funny because like I never had to share my breakfast ever, like growing up.
So this wasn't like a family. This was a you thing.
So my grandma did it, and then she kind of like passed it on to me.
And you're like,
and-
no, this is mine.
Yeah.
Isn't my squishy?
And-
Here we go. Hold on. Hold on. I got to get.
Is that Raisin Bran?
Raisin Bran Crunch.
Yes.
oh man.
Oh, I'm pulling in tight. Let's see it. Oh, look at this guy. I'm taking a video too.
I got a crunch on the microphone just for some ASMR.
Yes.
It was really good, Mike.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
My man is eating Raisin Bran and water, and he is liking it. Damn.
Loving.
Loving. Sorry, I totally Samsonite.
No, you're
No,
so
no,
kind.
no,
thank
we're
you.
good.
I got plenty
appreciate that
more in
though.
there.
It's the sharing season, FYI.
Yeah.
It's the
Got a
giving
little water.
season.
Sharing is caring.
Oh my
Tis the
gosh.
season
So I know,
for the reason.
I know what Gary's gonna bring to our like Man versus Mood barbecue now. It's just
Yeah,
gonna be
no.
cereal,
Oh, it better not
water, bowls.
be. If he brings cereal and is this like the giving center? Do you guys need extra stuff? Because he's just eating cereal and water. And it's like, yeah, he's the strange one.
He's hungry. Look, he chowed half a bowl
I
already.
know.
Like I've told
Fucking crazy.
like anybody and everybody like that I've told is just
That was terrible. I'm gonna have to edit
massively
that out.
disgusted with my choice, and they're like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "What is wrong with you for not enjoying the delicacy of cereal and water?"
Hey man, the more you talk, the more I'm like respect, man. You're like, this is your thing. Mm-hmm. Okay.
You better
Okay.
not
I
let
can
that
accept
cereal
that.
and water go to waste.
I'm actually gonna go on the Food Network with my cereal and water. So
Yeah, you should. Okay, what is your weirdest food thing?
Oh man.
Real quick, because this
I'm
is
normal.
something. No, you've got to have something.
Well, so,
Mine
okay.
is gonna be
So
weird.
it's like peanut butter on waffles. Is that
No,
weird?
that's,
that's not.
No.
perfect.
That sounds yummy. Oh, I've never done it.
Literally
but
the
Or
best.
peanut butter banana sandwiches or peanut butter and honey sandwiches.
I think peanut butter with most of those things makes
Yeah.
sense.
Like if you put potato chips on it or something, that might be a little bit.
Not with
odd.
peanut butter,
Doritos.
but I'll do chips on other sandwiches.
Jen,
Okay, mine is strawberry jam on a grilled cheese sandwich.
What the?
see,
That's-
Dip it in mustard.
That's even.
Oh, whoa! You're joking, right?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh my god! I'm not
And
gonna.
I was
I'm not gonna
judged.
go to the kitchen.
No,
and make you
bro,
that
you're
right
back in. You're right back in.
I'm back in the
Gary's
game, boys.
because you strawberry jam and mustard together.
Yeah, you
How
take
did
a
you
grilled
discover-
cheese sandwich, and my mom actually, it's a British thing. I didn't. Yeah. Anyway, so
Well, that explains it.
my
I see a lot of
grandfather
British
served a mission.
restaurants.
I see
Yeah.
I see why they lost the war.
My grandfather served a mission in England for 2 years, and when he came back, he kind of just picked up the habits. Grilled cheese sandwich, you spread strawberry jam on top, and then you can dip each bite into a little bit of mustard.
Well,
It
whatever.
sounds disgusting.
No,
It
I
is
could do everything
by
until the
far.
mustard.
I know, right? I resisted for a very long time, and I did try it, and it's pretty yummy.
So, what would you rather eat, that or cereal and
Oh,
water?
cereal and water all day because the mustard just like,
I sign me up for that.
yeah.
I'm
Here's
not
your
doing
chance.
that.
Definitely.
I'm not
Here's your
doing
chance I
that.
left.
What
Yeah.
Genevieve said, no way.
No, I could do the grilled cheese and strawberry because you've got the different
Sweet
flavors.
and salty. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the mustard is. We're talking like French's yellow mustard.
Any kind of mustard. I've tried all the
You
different
know, like
kinds.
stone ground and
Brown mustard.
and
Yeah, the spicy but honestly, I think my favorite's just the plain old
Ugh.
mustard.
So I definitely
That's
appreciate
disgusting.
you coming out and saying that, because that takes some guts for
Yeah.
sure.
I know Gary's like, thank you for taking the heat. I appreciate it. I know when you said your weirdest, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. I cannot wait to tell you guys about my weird food thing.
mine would probably, or one of mine, because I have numerous, but I like to put ketchup on tacos.
What? That's called salsa.
No,
No.
I
Minus all the other
salsa
stuff.
and ketchup. Just straight up, or not Hunt's. Hunt's isn't ketchup. That's garbage sauce. But Heinz ketchup on a
Portland ketchup.
Portland ketchup's good.
Our next sponsor, Portland Ketchup. If you're listening, we would love some free bottles of ketchup.
I will wrap up with what I feel blessed for. We got the last Fraser fir at the tree farm we went to yesterday, and it's got the blue on it, and it smells fantastic. So
Yay.
very thankful to go hunting for a Christmas tree with approximately 11,000 other people who had never seen a Great Pyrenees, and so they wanted to touch her and see her, and she loves all of that until she tries to jump on them. And she's as tall as I am. When she puts her paws up, she can put her paws on my shoulder.
And you're
Wow.
what, 5 foot?
I'm 5'11".
Yeah.
So she's a big dog, and she's full of love and rambunctiousness and then can I just say, can we please get behind this? Don't just assume that every dog is a dog and wants to meet your dog.
For real.
Other dogs may not like that. And so when you say, I want my dog to be your dog's friend, you should run that by the owner of the dog so that there isn't a fight. Because that's what happens when you have protective dogs.
Especially if
And-
they're on leash.
Yes, and I get that fairly regularly. We're like, oh, this is so cute. This is, and my dog will try to eat the other dog. So be
Well,
aware
that's
of.
their job.
Yes, I
Is
know.
to protect the flock.
That's
You're their flock. I mean, whatever. But
people don't get that. It's not, or they just walk up and they stick their hand in the dog's face. That doesn't
Seriously?
make a lot of sense. Yes. Anyway, so yes.
so speaking of which, that leads us into our first topic: less holiday stress.
less holiday stress.
Don't take your dog to a tree farm.
Oh no, I do that so that she gets out and with people, and that's why I
No, you
why I
have
did
manners
it.
with your
Yes.
dog at the
Yeah.
tree farm.
Yeah, it's not my dog. My dog is well behaved, but no stress in the holidays. The holidays can bring a lot of stress, beginning all the way back around the Halloween time, because you're starting to ramp up into the Thanksgiving and what that can mean. Which a lot of times people travel are more likely to travel for Thanksgiving than they are for Christmas, because you know the dates and how long you can be there and things like that, which can begin the process of anxiety, fear. I mean, it runs the whole gamut of feelings and how we associate that with our current situation, with our past, and what we will set that event up for, whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, or New Year's. And I do include New Year's as part of that as well, because it's, even though you're not giving presents or anything like that, it's a time to reflect and hopefully launch yourself into a new season of life, which is a new year. But that stress can add up, and I don't know about you guys, but it's something that I have certainly dealt with. What, Gary, I'll start with you, is probably one of the biggest stresses you have had or currently have around the holidays?
I would say for me before, like, one of the stresses was, just trying to make sure that, like, everybody gets like an equal amount, of presents and stuff like that. And I think that, so many people spend so much time, spending their rent money, on presents or mortgage or car, whatever. And it's just like it's really not about that. It's just about, family time, and it's about love. And I just think, we talked about it like a little before, but now it's more drawn out into like a commercialized, like, just arbitrage of craziness, and I just think that, like, it needs to get drawn back to just, family and love and, like appreciation and stuff like that. And things that I dealt with too was like just like trying to get around to too many households and stuff like that, because you're trying to get around, for Thanksgiving or for Christmas and make sure you're spending like an equal, amount of time, with these people. And sometimes it's tough.
A lot of times it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mike is making faces at me.
like usual.
Yeah, right.
I think a lot of times with the expectations that we end up getting inadvertently, like I don't think anybody chooses this stuff. It's just they think, I want to have fun. Mm-hmm. I want this to be memorable. I want everyone to be happy. I want to be happy. And a lot of things we've been taught is the only way to do that is to give a ton of gifts or do certain things or we kind of did it to ourselves a little bit with movies and media and things that we choose to consume on that edge. Like I think we have a tendency to go, oh, that's what that looks like, so I need to do that. Mm-hmm. But instead it's like you got to go inside. You got to go think about yourself, like what would feel really good to me, and just get down to the brass tacks and just say, because like for some people it's having a quiet holiday, like doing really meditative, slow, not loud, like that's somebody's like ideal holiday, right? And it's like that doesn't mean it doesn't include family, but that complicates it for sure. But I don't know, I think that there's not enough like, well, what looks like a great holiday to you versus you, it turns into all very different holidays. But got to get to know ourselves well enough to be able to say what that is.
Definitely. Like for me, like I see like a lot of like split households and stuff like that, or like people that are trying to battle for their kids' love. So they're like, I have to buy more for my child than my partner would just to try to gain that love or gain that satisfaction or whatever. But still, like it's not about that. It's about other things
and understanding that the kids, more than likely, if you've set the precedent early enough, they want a fun time with you. They want a connection with you that is heightened because of the holidays, whether it's a relationship with God as well, or fellowship with your friends or family over whatever it might be. But a lot of times that anticipation that we build up for the big day and Santa Claus coming or whatever it might end up being ends up being a letdown, because if we have paid attention to the media and things like that, bigger, more. I mean, this new Samsung commercial about the girl getting the cell phone that has been, I don't know if you've seen it, but that looks for her or whatever. I'm like, this is exactly what we rail on constantly, is the 13-year-old kid getting the brand new cell phone and all of the problems that will introduce to her life that she doesn't currently have. But that's not what you're seeing. They want to sell a $1,000 phone because, I mean, it's kind of this never-ending feedback loop. I want the cell phone so that I can get likes, and then I have to get likes by doing things that aren't healthy for me, and so on and so forth. Mike, because you have a little bit different take on this, it sounds like, from what we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah, for me, like the biggest stressor for me was, so my parents are divorced, so I would have to go to my mom's house. And then it became, we tried to fit so many activities into the 2 days. So Christmas Eve, we went to, the various times that I've been married, we would go to either my in-laws, and then we would go to my mom's, and then we'd go to my dad's, and then we'd have to try to fit in our Christmas at our house to open presents, and then we would have to go to here and here, and I'm just like, holy fuck.
You've lost the fun of it.
Yeah, I didn't want to do Christmas. Yeah. And then at the end of it, you're just exhausted, and you're like, God, thank God it's over,
Which is exactly what we don't want, right?
No. And so, the last time, more recently, we would ask the kids, instead of spending a ton of money on gifts, we would ask them, 2 years ago, what'd you get for Christmas? I don't know. You don't know what you got 2 years ago for Christmas? What about last year? Question, they have this blank look on their face. So we just decided, okay, we're not going to buy presents. We buy you stuff all year long, the stuff that you need, stuff that you possibly want. of course, we want to teach them responsibility and help them, buy stuff on their own by earning money in jobs and stuff. But so we just said, look, instead of doing this, we're just going to do it like a Christmas trip to make memories, because they remember that. So the first year we did that, we took them to Disneyland, and, I'll ask them, what did we do for Christmas 5 years ago? Oh, we spent a week and we went to Disneyland and Universal Studios, and yeah, it was more expensive than what we probably would have spent on Christmas presents, but those memories are going to last you a lifetime, whereas Christmas presents you forget by
Very
the next
quickly.
year.
And a lot of times you outgrow them.
And we really set that precedence of, hey, if you want to come see the grandkids, then you need to come to our house. We're not going to go hop into all these houses.
And that leads into something that we wanted to talk about, which is boundaries, and how we set up those healthy boundaries for our family, our extended family, and our married family, because those are all three different dynamics that can play out completely different depending on how your relationship is with each of those, whether it's aunts and uncles or in-laws or your kids with you that night. And I know, or morning. And I know for me, less is more. I do enjoy one thing, and this is kind of an odd thing, but on Christmas afternoon, driving somewhere, I always enjoy it because the hustle and bustle is gone. Most of it is just people going from one house to another, but there's not all of the other BS, and everyone's in a kind of a good mood, but there's just a different vibe to being on the road. And so that is something that, even though I would rather be at home for the entire day, getting out and just seeing the world without the BS around it is kind of the way I put it. But are boundaries something, Jen, that you have struggled to deal with until recently, or is this something that you felt comfortable with for a long time?
Boundaries for me were hard because I didn't even know how to define my boundaries for a long time, and that was kind of what started this journey of like self-development, or like I don't know how to describe that perfectly, but it when I started hitting brick wall after brick wall and feeling like I was just, everything was hard, like why is everything so hard, I just decided that I wanted to like learn more about myself, because that did feel good to like understand and be like, oh, okay, I understand this about myself. And as I drove down that road, I started to realize, like, if somebody were to be like, what are your like top boundaries that you set? I'm like, what? Like, it's like I have great work boundaries. So if I'm working 9 to 5 even, like, it's really easy for me to set boundaries around that and around like church and things that where I spend my time. But when it comes to people I love, forget about it. Like, if I love somebody, it was like, I mean, I think a lot of people feel this way. It's like I would drop everything and I'd get up in the middle of the night. I would do anything for people I love. However, there still has to be a certain amount of like energy protection around those you love. And
because they can take it, and the ones that figure out that they're going to get more of it than other people will take advantage of you.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of things to be worried about if you don't have boundaries. Right. And it's like, so like understanding what's a boundary for you. And to be honest, it's trial and error. Like for me, it was just really trial and error. Like, for instance, you guys were talking about Christmas Day, and I grew up in a household where my parents kind of cut off contact to everyone in my extended family. And so Christmas was real quiet. It was just us. And I'm grateful for that, to have like that quiet. And we created some fun traditions that we can even do now. Like we don't go bustling all over the place. We go to a movie. We meet up at the movies.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah, we do that on Christmas Day, because there's no expectations. Nobody's having to clean their house. There's no like major food to be done. It's just to show up, have some popcorn, enjoy a movie together. And that has been a very stress-free way. And I'm lucky that I got to watch my mom set boundaries. My mom was really good at setting, almost too good. She was really good at setting boundaries, and especially with her kids. And it was such a good example to me. Like, those moms that like, make dessert and they, for whatever reason, don't get a slice, or they never sit down to eat 2 or more meals because their plate's always cold, blah, blah. My mom was like, I'm sitting down first. I get the first slice of cake. Like, she was like, I made this, so you better just wait a second. Like, she's so good at boundaries that way. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's so mean. And I'm like, no, she was just like, look, okay, I spent all this time, and so she was really good at being like leading the way a little bit, but I didn't know how to set boundaries that felt good to me. I got to watch her and go, okay, I see the value in that, and I understand that that is a good thing, but how? Like, how do I find those boundaries? And it really, the only way I was able to discover my boundaries was really to think about what drains me and what doesn't. Like, what makes me feel like, why am I doing all of this? Like Mike was talking about going to all these places and you're like, whoa, okay, breaks. You want to come here? Great. That was a proper boundary because it drained you otherwise. So like, it took me a hot second to figure that out.
And then we got to see who was really important.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people would
they
show
won't
up.
meet you.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting
including
thing.
my dad and my stepmom. They wouldn't show up.
That's the interesting
Really?
thing about boundaries. Like, as soon as you set your boundaries, the first people to have an issue with it are the people that don't have their own boundaries. Like, they don't know how to set boundaries. They don't know how to, like, if you guys ever heard that phrase, holding space, like, they just don't know how to hold space for your boundaries. And that's a good indicator of like, okay, maybe our relationship is not going to evolve or change beyond what it is right now, or maybe it needs to change more because if you start stomping all over each other's boundaries, that's when the holidays get sucky.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Talk about stress.
Turns into the Griswolds.
Yeah, exactly.
Times a million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cousin Eddie shows up.
Yeah. Or Cousin Eddie drinks a bottle of vodka and...
Stomps all over everyone's boundaries.
No, he just starts fights and
Physical
flips
boundaries,
tables
okay.
over and...
Oh, it's like when the Rottweiler runs through the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got a bunch of stories like that. Now, Gary, you've mentioned that you're not a big fan of the holidays, and that's something that you have, I assume, tried to work on or turn around because it's fun to kind of enjoy that.
Yeah.
How has that impacted you as you've stepped forward, like Jen said, with our self-discovery and things like that? Has it changed kind of your mentality towards that?
For me, just the first thing is just knowing that, like, just because I don't like something or just because like I don't enjoy something doesn't mean that like I have to like implore my ideology or thought process onto like other people. Or
That's huge.
yeah, so
Right.
it's
Mike,
like
thank you. I
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, like
To each their own.
yeah, and for me, like I like sitting here and looking at Mike's Christmas tree and his box tree and just Christmas doilies.
There
and
it
stuff
is.
There's
Yes.
Santas over there.
That is
Those
not a
are new.
box tree.
And yeah, like I love that. Like I love sitting here and listening to Will talk about cooking with his family and going to the tree farm and stuff, and listening to Jen talk about how she has a town and a little town and a city.
They finally got to. I showed them a video.
Yeah.
And
Jen is legit.
yeah, like
It's
like,
Hallmark
yeah
to the max.
Yeah, and like for me,
my
like
friend.
I love that, and like just for me, like I just there's things that I'm still working on, there's things that I'm still working through with my therapist and stuff now, and I just think for me, receiving gifts is like always weird and it's always awkward because
I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this. Okay, so Gary and Mike do not like getting gifts,
Nope.
and you
I'm
like
not a
giving
big
them,
fan of it either.
We don't like getting them.
but you like giving them.
Giving them,
for
yes.
sure.
Okay. We talked about love languages, correct? What's your guys' love? Like, what's your love language, Gary?
Mine was
So there's words, service,
words of affirmation or whatever.
quality time, physical touch.
Words and quality time,
service.
I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Okay.
sure.
Okay,
Because
okay.
like I don't know, just like for me, like I grew up and like on my birthday, like we didn't really do like
Wasn't a thing.
birthdays or anything like that. Like I would just come home, like as a kid, and like there'd be some socks on the table and a cupcake, and that was it. There was no
Socks on a cupcake.
there was no like happy birthday, or, and like the same thing for Christmas.
There was acknowledgement, but not a celebration.
Yeah, there was no like, oh, it's your 13th, 14th, whatever birthday. So, for me, it was just normal. And I mean, like, it was the same thing on Christmas, for me, my family. So I'm half Swedish and half Nigerian. And like in the Norwegian, households or whatever, like we would do Christmas on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm Norwegian and Finnish. So.
Yeah. So yeah, like I just remember, just being like at a young age and like my like because I was raised by my grandparents too, like my grandfather was out working, he'd be working a lot, and he would just do the best that he could for the family, and whatever he did, whether it was gifting money or actual gifts, it just wasn't enough. Like my like uncles who weren't working were like this is all I'm getting, you know, type thing. And just to me, like that's kind of where Christmas just started to like really plateau,
Deteriorate.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, Christmas kind of lost the meaning at that point. But again, you know, like I'm not, you know, talking badly about it. Just for me, just my like ideology on it just brings me back to that. So you know, like at night too, you know, we'd be opening up our presents, you know, like I'd be a kid or something like that. And I would get, you know, some shoes or some video games or something like that. And like, I would put it down next to me, and then, you know, we'd be done getting our presents and stuff like that, you know, like 30 minutes later or whatever. And then I would go to grab it and it would just be gone.
So that still just blows me away to this day that a grown ass man would steal shit from a kid.
So exactly. And just, you know, for me, like I like had to legit put it like in a bag in front of me, or like put it, you know, like in front of me, like in my lap, because the second that I put it down, my uncle would steal my presents, you know. So
that is, but the other adults allowed that.
That's the thing that boggles my mind. Like it makes me want to be like, travel back in time and sit next to Gary in his room and be like, nuh-uh.
Yeah. So do
not touch Gary's gifts.
Yeah, and you know, for me, like that's definitely, you know, something that I'm working through, you know, with my therapist now, is like, you know, forgiving that like 10-year-old Gary, like forgiving that 11-year-old Gary, because now that Gary is like, man, I should have fucking, you know, beat the hell out of him or something like that. But just, you know, like now I'm like thinking back, like, damn, you know, I was 5 feet tall. I was like 75 pounds or something like that. And like my family didn't do anything to stop that because they were all scared of him too.
Oh, okay.
So when they're scared of
boundaries,
him.
people. Boundaries. I would have been like, you are
right.
not welcome here.
Right.
We wish you well.
Yeah.
We'll meet you at a restaurant to celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And like for me, like my I lived in a house with my grandfather, my grandma, my aunt, and my 3 uncles. And my grandfather died, and my 2 uncles, aunt and grandma, still live in that house. Like they never moved out, they never did anything. Day. Yeah, and it's like, you know, so just to say, you know, you can't be here for that, like they live there. So it's like I get that, you know, and most people are like, you know, they should have been out by, you know, by the time they're 18 or 21 or whatever else.
That's tough to do. And with some personalities, it's not that easy.
It's just the most wild thing to me, because like for me, like I'm thankful that I made it out. Like I'm thankful that I'm not there anymore. Cause you know, it's just a very, toxic environment. And, you know, basically just, like for instance, you know, like I would get, you know, like a brand new like Mario game or something like that, or Sonic the Hedgehog or something. And like I would have to have a pen next to me and write my name on it, write my phone number, and then put do not sell, because my uncle would take it and then take it to a pawn shop and sell it, right? So I would just have to know, you know, this is normal. This is just what you got to do, you know. So my friends would come over and be like, why is your name and your phone number and stuff like that like on the back of this? And you know, I just had to just, you know, make a joke out of it, and that was my way of coping, you know, with those things. As
you look back at that now, and you kind of go through this journey of healing and dealing with that, I mean, that's a lot of stuff to unpack. And that's why, you know, the first time that you sat down and you told us these types of stories, it was mind blowing to me, because I've never encountered anything like that. But for you, do you reach a point where you ultimately, you forgive him and you feel sorry for him? Because that's the way I look at it. I'm not saying you, and I know that that's going to, if that's part of your journey, it may be a long time down the road. Yeah. But for a grown man to steal from a little kid, I mean, that's
special
that's
place in hell for people that choose that.
And that's I mean, like he's a mental midget to do something like that. And I'm like,
and like for me, like it's interesting that we're talking about the holidays and we're talking about boundaries, because it's like I had to learn to set boundaries like as a young child, right? And like for me, like it's very easy just to like cut relationships and stuff like that off, but I still talk to him, you know, probably once a month or something like that. Really? But he doesn't know where I live, and like I'll never tell him, because before
steal your shit.
Yeah, we'll just that, and like he'll just pop up. right?
Yeah.
So just, you know, before, you know, when I was living in different places, he would just come over unannounced and just like show up and just be like, hey, what's going on? And I'm just like,
What the fuck are you doing here?
yeah, what the fuck? Yeah, exactly, right? So then, you know, if I don't unlock the door or like open the door, like he would wait for somebody to come home and then they'd have to let him in. And it was just really weird. And just, you know, so just to sit here and just think about, you know, like boundaries and just like forgiveness and stuff like that, you know, like I definitely forgive him, but I'm not going to fucking forget.
No, because the forgetting or the forgiving part is for you.
Yeah.
And I think all of us that are sitting around this circle have gotten to a point where we have forgiven many people for many things that they have, you know, been involved in our life. Yeah. But as
that doesn't mean you invite them back in.
No, you don't. And
that's a boundary in itself.
100%. And acknowledging that they made mistakes, you are part of those in some way, shape, or form. Not that you were wrong for what you did, but you have to acknowledge that you were part of it, that it was there, and they did these things to you. Because a lot of times in our minds, we can change reality in order to make ourselves feel better. Like, oh, that didn't happen. And I know, Mike, you have talked about some stuff that happened in your youth that you're just, it's tough for you. And now as you move, and it has nothing to do with Christmas or anything like that, but you have learned to move past those things because the anger that they brought out of you.
Well, I'm still working on that.
Well, we're all still working.
But like, for example, I have a huge issue with my ex-stepdad.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I was talking about.
And I get triggered, and he still lives in the area, and we really don't live that far apart. And so the other day I was filling up gas at Costco, and his vehicle with his company name rolls right across. And I was on the phone with, I think, Michelle at the time, and I'm like, oh, there goes Larry. I'm just like, all right. Just, I don't know. It's so weird, the feeling inside my body, just like my gut gets tight. I get anxious.
It's a fight or flight.
Where the fuck does that, I want that to go away. And so, you know, there was a lot of holiday shit with him too. Cause I mean, it was almost like my stepsister and my stepbrother. And he actually treated his son like shit too. But my stepsister would get everything. Like, she was the princess, you know. She would have a ton of presents, and so my presents were less. But he would force my mom to spend a lot more money on her my mom would like secretly give me stuff.
Yeah.
But she tried that
dynamic right there, though,
really fair.
Yeah, but that fucks up so many different things between their relationship, your relationship with your mom, your relationship with him, and the relationship you have with your stepbrothers and sister.
Well, my stepbrother, I rarely saw him. He didn't come around. But my stepsister, I mean, she was like, there was a rivalry. And she was 5-6 years younger than I was. So
really?
She was half my age at the time. I was 10, 11. She was 5. And so, you know, at that point, it's just like, you really learn, especially being an only child, of who you can and can't trust, right? It's really that's when it's really starting to play out as they're in my corner, they're not in my corner, you know? And I felt like my mom kind of wasn't in my corner. And so at that point, you know, I'm basically feel like I'm raising myself in a lot of ways and kind of trying to traverse this world that we're in. And it was tough. And so a lot of that holiday connotation that's wrapped around you can, you know, it can be triggering. As I got married and had kids, and, you know, we created our own traditions and we kind of went away from that. So, but I mean, there was definitely some unhealthy things that we probably created and, you know, passed on.
The triggers that you feel when you see him, I think, well, first of all, like, nobody can help the triggers they have, right? Like, it's amazing to be triggered by something and then go, whoa, what? Like, why? You know, and then you start wondering, like, or you start going, I really don't want to feel that ever again. And you start thinking, well, how can I protect myself? How can I make sure that doesn't happen?
So you talked about kind of escape, or, you know, things that would come for me is I would escape in video games. Once the internet came out, we'll probably have a whole podcast on this one, but you know, pornography came into the play. And so it was, how can I escape my current reality?
Because you couldn't get away.
I couldn't get away. I was
Yeah.
stuck there. And
Yeah.
since my stepbrother wasn't around to take the brunt of it, I was there to take the brunt of it because my stepsister definitely wasn't, you know? So, and then my mom would disappear to work. She'd be gone all the time. And so literally I was there with him the entire time. And so
did she not listen to you, or?
I think she was still so wrapped up in so many different things because this is a guy that tried to kill her, you know? And so I didn't know that until I was older.
Yeah.
So of course she doesn't want to be there, you know?
But
So
to leave her son in that situation is
I didn't think she knew any better,
really,
you know? And as I've gone to counseling and as I've talked to a lot of people, they're like, you know, your mom did the best that she could with what she had. But I also have to look at what she grew up in with her father being an alcoholic and hiding with her brothers and sisters when her dad and her mom are fighting with each other, yelling back and forth, and she's having to protect her younger brother and sister under a bed, you know? So those kind of triggers, I didn't have that. I didn't have to worry about that. But mine was very much passive aggressive to the point where, you know, where I was just like, fuck it. I'll just lock myself in my room. Don't have to do anything. Don't have to listen to you. And then when I became like 15, 16, and I was able to drive and had a car and had a job, I was gone. I would not be around there at all.
and I mean that's a fight or flight type thing,
Right.
Because you have to be aware of where you feel safe, and if you don't feel safe in your own home, then
Yeah.
And was your dad around here? I mean,
My dad lived in Oregon City,
okay.
but that's a whole nother dynamic. Like, I don't know. I don't need to get into that right now. But he was around, but not around.
Okay.
Well, there was something I wanted to bring up to you guys and wonder if you'd ever heard of this, because this was actually really profound for me to kind of figure out how I could get past some of my triggers. Things that were triggering to me was there's this thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yep.
I've never heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It starts
So
with
it's a pyramid shape, and it starts with physiological safety. So like you're physically safe. Then it goes to safety in general, love and belonging, esteem, and then self-actualization. The thing that I like about Maslow's is that it puts us in a place of like, okay, I'm triggered. Why am I triggered? And ultimately, most of the triggers that we feel, it's because we have surpassed, like we've worked on things and we've surpassed, okay, I feel physically safe. Okay, I'm meeting some of the next base needs, and now I'm working on like my emotional needs. And when we get triggered back to a state when we were physiologically not safe, it's like you feel like you've been bottomed out. It's like your stomach's fallen out and you're just like, and it hits you really hard.
Like you're back at square one almost.
Yeah, like it's forcing you to look back at something that you may not have quite, your brain hasn't quite worked its way through, or there really is no closure and you're working on it, and that can take time. And I think sometime with Maslow's, it's helped me kind of give some perspective to somebody else's healing, somebody else's where they're at, because I've had extended family that I've created great relationships with, and I love them dearly, and they're triggered by something and have to pull away from the whole family, or they have to, you know, I didn't see my sister-in-law, who is like my soul sister. I love her to death. I didn't see her for 5 years and didn't have contact with her, and she was just like, I need this. And I was like, whatever you need, like literally whatever you need. And she did the work, man. She did some serious work during that time. And now and it's taking time to integrate the stuff that she's learning. But the Maslow's needs was what she went back to. She went back to, I need to feel physically safe for a long enough time that I can really look at that hard stuff that was triggering to me, but still feel physically safe. Because if you haven't really worked out your physically safe stuff, so I want to break down what some of this needs. So physiological needs are air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproductive health, which I think that's interesting. That's included. The safety.
Makes sense, though.
I mean, it does. It makes sense. Yeah, you get down to the safety needs. So the next level up is personal security, employment, resources, health, property. And then you go into love and belonging, which is friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection. Esteem is what you can expect, self-esteem. recognition, strength, freedom, and then self-actualization is the desire to become the most that one can be. And I think we all oscillate wildly between that hierarchy, but there are times when we lose our jobs, we're in a major life change, we divorce, death, like all these major things. And that takes us way back down to the bottom two rungs, to safety and physiological needs. And we need to nourish those parts of ourselves. It doesn't matter what gender you are. It doesn't matter what background you have. It doesn't matter what religion you are, race, gender. None of that matters except for these things here. And I think sometimes this is just an outside observation towards men. A lot of times men completely blow through all of these and expect to be at esteem and self-actualization.
And I don't think outside of this room, I may be able to count on my fingers how many men are actually approaching the ability to even realize what self-actualization is.
Right.
Most of them are so far away from even understanding themselves to a degree beyond mean man, eat meat, bang.
Physiological safety needs, base needs.
Exactly.
They're still working on those things.
They don't... I don't know that they're even capable.
Yeah.
I don't think they're even... Because to work toward self-actualization is to admit you have faults. Most
or responsibility.
Most are unwilling to be vulnerable enough with themselves to say, I need to be a better man, or I need to have some...
But what does that mean? Like being a better man, like you know?
Like those things take work. Like,
oh yeah,
you have to really like look yourself in the mirror and stuff like that. And
you got to
like,
want it.
For me, like I just think, you know, that's the most difficult part, you know, because it's like for us, you know, we go to therapy, you know, we read about this and we're trying to better ourselves and stuff like that, but there's just people that, you know, want to say they want to do something and then don't do it. So it's like it's difficult to get across just to certain people, because if you're not doing the work to like better yourself, and if you're not, you know, going to therapy or reading or just doing anything, like...
Oh, there's a lot of people that look down on me for doing this.
Oh, for sure.
And I know that. And I'm like...
Wish you well, people.
Bring
have
it.
a wonderful life.
Yeah, and because I like that. I do have no problem. I've been different my entire life.
Well, I think there's two sides to the coin, what you're saying, Gary. There's like one side where it's like they're not willing to do the work, and then there's the other side of the people that think they're not worthy of the work. They won't forgive themselves for things that they've done, and they think that it doesn't matter what I do, it's not going to help. And like, you know, it's like this hopelessness. So there's like two sides. There's the stubborn, the like, and I think that's where toxic masculinity, well, both sides can create toxic masculinity. But when you got the one side of I'm perfect, I don't need anything else, like I am man, hear me roar, that just that drives me crazy. But so does the other side of like, every person has worth, every person has so much value to bring to those around them, but if you refuse to accept that you are human, you make mistakes, and it can be big ones, you can make big mistakes and you can come back from that. Both sides of those coins need to see that they deserve more.
So just out of curiosity, which side do you feel like you guys were on? The I am man, or I'm not worthy?
I am not worthy.
For me, it's the same thing. Like,
which one do you think?
I'm not worthy. So I just think that like, just with anything and everything, I just always want more. Nothing's good enough, and I'm just not worthy of it, essentially. And
I think that's the bulk of what men are going through. Even the ones that are on this side, I think really when you get down to the brass tacks of it, it's that men are made to be told that they can't make mistakes, that they must achieve all the time, and that their life must be linear and static, and that it's never, you know, and so or that they should never complain, or that they should not, like, you know, there's all sorts of stuff like that. And most men, even the ones that I've met that are like, I am man, like what it comes down to is they're scared. They're scared. Yeah. They're worried. They're fearful.
And the ego is controlling that fear, because usually early in our life, we're taught that whether it's through sports, other aggressive type things, we deal with it through more aggression. And I am a huge fan of aggression, but it needs to be controlled at all times.
It needs to be understood. Like, where's the aggression coming from? Why? Like, why? Because, I mean, it has its place. Oh, for sure. I mean, I appreciate that there's a place for it, you know? So it's like there's a place for hustle hard, achieve, do the things.
And aggression and the hustle thing,
Totally
and
different
the
things,
way the way I look at those are completely
Yeah.
different. But it's, I think you're probably the same way in the I'm not worthy type
Oh, yeah,
thing. Not
absolutely.
that we're all Wayne and Garth, but when did you guys get that?
Yeah. Wayne's World.
Party on. Oh, gotcha.
When we look at those things, I think that's what allows us, though, to get to I don't want to say bottom, but a point in our lives where we're willing to let ourselves go and admit we don't have the answers, and we're done feeling like this. We know that there is something better out there, whether that's we're being led to it or we just have this burning desire to be happier, right?
You know where I actually figured that out was? I just turned 43. I was 42 and a half. And I'm like,
Wait a minute, you were just turned 43 or you were 42 and a half?
I just turned 43 not
Okay.
too long ago. But when I figured out that I
Yeah,
needed
thank you.
to find my worth, it was around when I was 42 and a half or 42. And it took me 42 years to get to this point, but I'm so glad that I did, because by going to and actually seeking out and talking to different people and going, hey, this is the things I struggle with, with counseling and stuff. So I found a counselor, and the counselor's like, oh, I think you should go see this person. They would probably help you get a lot further. So through that process, he does this therapy. It's called ART therapy. So accelerated resolution therapy. It was designed for veterans with PTSD. So they take in a single event and they walk you through it, and it's all with your rapid eye movement. So he would go through these events where some that I would have with my stepdad, excuse me, some events I had with my stepdad, or stuff that I've had with ex-girlfriends or whatever. Sorry, my throat's like all weird, but
You're verklempt.
yeah,
Verklempt.
but it helped me work through those things, to not see it and have those emotions and those feelings behind it, but to see for what it was, to move past those, kind of separate the emotions out of it, and then you can rewrite it to what you want to remember it as.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
it's like
so-
a 30,000 view.
Yeah.
Like you're taking it from a 30,000 view
And
and
it's
dissecting.
it's helped a lot. So
And that's
I
just
feel kind of
something-
unstuck, or I'm getting unstuck in a lot of ways, so that I can have a normal, healthy life where I don't feel like I'm not worthy. You know?
I think that it's not lost on me that on Maslow's chart, it's physiological, safety, love, then esteem. It's like if we try to skip that and go straight to just esteem with ourselves, we're still going to feel like something's missing. We still need to connect to people. We still need to have relationships and things that make us feel like a whole person. And that's difficult to do if we haven't addressed things that make us feel triggered.
Well, if you don't, you're going to keep people at arm's length. So
Yeah.
how can you ever truly let somebody in or close?
How can you even get to know yourself then? Because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
because your esteem yourself is the
I've kept
next
myself
above.
probably further away than a lot of people
Yeah.
I have, closer to me.
Yeah.
I just I keep myself so far away because I have never really truly known who I was. I've known myself through my actions. I've known myself through my behaviors. I've known myself who other people have told me I am, but I've never really known who I am. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. And then the existential question that comes out of that is, why am I here? What's my point? How am I serving the greater good, or what's my point for being on earth? And that can lead you down a whole host of different roads.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't see the forest through the trees, and back in 2012, I couldn't see past the bushes. And so I'm like, exactly, why am I here? Mm-hmm. I had a job loss. I had a marriage loss. My daughter was relocating to Arizona with her mom. So I had nothing left to lose, really. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I here? I won't go into details of what I did, but I attempted to leave this world. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, I'm still here.
Because you're supposed to be here.
Well, right. But at that time.
Yeah, no, but those are the things that, if you don't have a good handle on your mental health, let's just use that word, that can take you in a place that exactly what you experienced there, that is traumatic. And if you don't know how, or you don't have any tools in your tool belt of dealing with those types of things, then, you know, you can have some really, really bad outcomes out of that.
Definitely. And like the thing about it too is, it's like, for me, like I just finished reading Will Smith's book.
Oh, did you really?
Oh man, for me, like
He and I are birthday buddies.
really, man, like for me growing up, I like always loved like Will Smith and Michael Jordan, stuff like that. And like it's just interesting just like listening to him talk about his like battles, you know, like as a child, or, you know, battles, you know, like as like a celebrity. And, you know, just like now, you know, things that, you know, you hear about him and his current wife and stuff like that now, you know, that we deal with. And I mean, like, it's just interesting because it's like, from my perspective, it's like we like live like in a day and age now where like, you know, it's Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all this stuff, and every single highlight is a highlight of somebody's life. You know, it's them portraying themselves as, I have it, I have everything, I have millions of dollars, I have a Lambo, I have this and that, but it's like that stuff is all fake. So it's like for me, like I'm just gonna be honest, like I'm worried about my son, because it's like for him, like he sees this world of like a fairy tale and stuff like that. And like, you know, it's like you have to achieve, you know, like a certain amount of likes, you have to achieve, you know, getting a certain amount of followers and just all these different things. And it's like, it's just, to me, it's sad. And
Turns into why.
Yeah.
And if you could just keep asking him why,
Yeah,
as he says, goes down and then he'll get to a point where he's like, I don't know, it's cause.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, I should examine that a little. Like,
yeah. Just, you know, like I, like for myself, you know, like at least, you know, a couple times a year, like I just try to just cleanse myself just of social media and just, you know, get off of it completely. Because I think that everybody should, you know, because it's just, it can just be very taxing just to see like,
that's like a whole nother holiday stress, is like seeing everyone else's holiday stuff that they're posting and like feeling you gotta like keep up somehow, like, or even FOMO, woulda, shoulda, coulda.
I don't experience those things.
I don't anymore.
I don't know that I ever really have, but I guess because I used all of the platforms very early on, before almost anyone that I knew.
Yeah.
And I never thought about it like that, because it's just, I didn't. So I feel very lucky and blessed, but I see how other people fall into it. And like, I use Twitter mainly for information gathering. I think it's a wonderful tool for that.
Yeah.
Instagram, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with that right now. In fact, as I try to increase I have a goal. I want to do some beard modeling stuff. I think it is cool. And then I have to actually put pictures of myself out, and I just want to start a pistol as I do it. So it's a terrible thing to deal with. If you don't have a good hand, that was a bad thing to say, wasn't it? I'll bleep that out. What's that at? 103. Okay. I'll bleep that out. That's my bad. I apologize. But anyway, we see that I do feel very lucky that I have not had the FOMO and things like that. But I also don't try to keep up with people. I mean, I put food out there. That's most of the stuff that I post.
Honestly, the only thing that's kept me, because I used to be like that. I think I used to, and it sneaks up on you. Like, you don't really know what's happening until you're like, okay, I'm having some bad feelings, let's get off this app, and like, you know. But I think the thing that's kept me from feeling that way, because I built a pretty big audience big enough on IG,
which we're trying to do here.
And
But what's that like? What's that 10,000 number like?
It's just freaking weird, first of all, but it's because I hit 12K in 2018, and it was a totally different algorithm back then. It was a totally different posting game. There was IGTV was new, like it was just very different than it is now. And I can tell you confidently, after having the algorithm change like 5 billion times since then, and I mean, I've hired content managers to help me keep things up and like keep the engagement going, and it's an endless rat race, like an endless rat race.
And it's designed that way.
It's made to consume. And while I was like, when I started to take off, I was a little confused. I was a little like, oh, okay, we're doing this. Like, it was not I was working for it, but I didn't expect it because it was just like, it's going to happen or whatever. And as I started to gain followers, and then my my engagement went up, and strangers were interacting with me, and it was like not friend of a friend or somebody who just saw a hashtag and was inspired because they're doing the same thing. It was just everyday normal people and like bot accounts, like all this stuff. I was kind of overwhelmed, and I felt myself pulling away from the app because I was like, I don't know how to keep this up. Like, I don't know how to grow from here, because that whole adage of what got you here is not going to get you there is very real in social media. You have to evolve, you have to change. And I was just like, I couldn't keep up. I could not keep up. And so my engagement is like way lower. I would get 800 to 1,000 likes on most images and things on there.
Bananas.
Yeah, it was bananas. And now I'm lucky if I get 300. Like, that's like a good engaged post.
How often do you post?
Hardly at all now. Like, I'm posting several times a month instead of several times a day. Like, I'm hardly on stories. My stories was full of my life. It was way more like Snapchat to me than it was what stories are now. And then IGTV started coming out, and it turned into, because I was doing YouTube and IG at the same time, and part of why I grew on IG is because what I was doing on YouTube. But IG doesn't like that now. They don't want you to go off app and find people. They want you to keep you in the app. And so that's where IGTV came from. And anyway, it's just this huge rat race. And when I stopped feeling FOMO around other people was when I pulled inside and stopped looking externally. It would turn into, what would make me happy? How am I going to use social media for me? And not because I want someone else to see it or because I want it to turn into more than what it is. Or, I just went inside of like, well, and what is social media to me? And I just stopped feeling like I was missing out on something. I stopped worrying about what other people were doing, and I could see their posts for what they were, of like, okay, I'm so happy for them that they got to like that, instead of like, oh man, how the heck did they get that? Or how did they do that? I want to do that. I stopped doing that because I went inside of like, well, what do I want this social media to be? I wanted it to be a place of education. I wanted it to be a place of connection with other people with like-minded interests. I wanted it to be a resource for people in certain ways, and that really drove my creation like in how I engaged with the app. And my engagement went down, and that's fine. Like, I don't need to that's why you don't see my family on my professional IG. It's like, that's not its purpose. They'll pop up every now and then for things because I don't want people to think they're secret. But I don't know, it drives things more. And so like when you have kids, like I'm doing that with social media with my kids, because my kid's gonna be 12 soon, and he's starting to ask, and I'm going, I don't know, how do I guide a child through this who doesn't have a developed brain? And make sure that they don't feel that trap that you're worried about with your kid. And it really is going to come down to, why are you doing this? Like, I want to understand. And if you don't have a solid why, like you don't understand why you're doing it, it's not time yet. It's not time to engage. It's not time to pull that up. Like, if you want to do it to share funny memes with your friends, cool. That's what it'll be about. Because that's probably what it'll be. He just want to like share funny things with his friends. But I want it to be defined. I want it to be clear to him, because otherwise it turns into consumption. Just blank consumption. And that's when things get bad.
And that's when we take ourselves into places that aren't healthy for us. As we get ready to wrap things up, because we're about to have a big leaf blower behind us, I think. Landscaper is here. What is something that, as we bring it back to the holidays, you would like the listeners, the audience, to think about going, this will be out next week, so 2 weeks before Christmas and New Year's. What's a big takeaway that you would like somebody to remember going into that?
For me, like, I think it's just about respecting people's boundaries, right? So like, if you invite somebody to come to your, holiday gathering and like they don't want to go, like, don't feel bad. Like, don't try to guilt trip them. Don't try to like, make them just pop up, and just know that it's not about you. That person, could be dealing with something. They could have anxiety. They could have some childhood trauma, and don't worry about spending your rent money and car payment money, just to make somebody else happy, because just like Mike said earlier, like his kids didn't remember what they got a year ago or 2 years ago. The holidays are supposed to be about love and appreciation and stuff like that, not about showing off for the gram.
Exactly.
Well, I think if you want to kind of touch on that, if you want to really show that you care about someone, go spend time with them.
Yeah.
Go for a walk. Go take them to coffee. Go do something person to person, not just here's a gift and see you later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, kind of to touch on yours, for my takeaway would be just know when to take a breath and step away if you need to, and just know when to say no. Like, I know if you're married or if you have a significant other, or if you're, by yourself, just know that it's okay to be like, hey, this year I'm going to just kind of relax and just take it how it goes. But don't stress yourself out in trying to get to where you feel like you have to be, because you don't have to be there. You just have to be present in yourself.
One of my favorite therapy questions is kind of to challenge the narrative of something and say, well, what would happen? What would, imagine it. What would it be like if you didn't do this or say that or make this or gift that? Like, play it out in your head. Like, what are all the scenarios if you didn't show up to grandma's house with the 20 bajillion people that show up this week? You know what I mean? That on Christmas Day. What would that be like? How would you handle it? And really like living out those scenarios of like, well, what if you did what you said you couldn't do?
Right.
It's a totally different reality than what you might think. You can catastrophize all you want, but it may not be as bad as you think.
No, maybe other people are feeling the same exact way.
And you'll help give permission to the other cousins that feel trapped at grandma's house, and like, you know what I mean?
Right.
You
You end
never
up
know.
going on a walk with the cousin before Thanksgiving dinner. I think for me and is that kind of what you want to get across to everyone as well, Jen?
Oh, I think mine was just pick a new boundary this year. Just pick a new boundary. Everybody could add another boundary, and it would be good.
Yeah.
Whether
More
it's
guardrails, not less.
Yeah, pick one boundary. You don't need to set them all. You don't need to completely change your holiday, but set one boundary. Like, maybe you'll be the last person to show up and the first person to leave from grandma's house.
And
Maybe that's
do
your boundary
it
this
not
year.
in a railroading sort of way.
Yeah.
Come at it, especially if you're, around your spouse, for instance, or your kids. Just be like, hey, this is what I need this year. And kind of ask for permission, but give
Clear
them-
is kind.
Right.
Clear is kind. Like,
Right.
honestly, that was something I learned this year through setting boundaries, was that my family gets a better version of me, even though they didn't like the boundaries I set down, first of all, like that I first started setting down, and upholding the boundaries is a whole nother game. Like, you can set that boundary, but
Yeah, you still have to.
there's more to it than that. And you can do it in a kind way. You can do it in a way that doesn't destroy relationships and other people's thoughts and dreams, So pick a boundary that feels good to you right now, that does not implode your life. Just try one.
I like that.
Yeah, that's really good. The one thing I would say is that if you're struggling for any number of reasons around the holiday, whether that's FOMO or you don't feel like you have enough gifts, anything like that, anything that you feel is causing you stress, take 10 minutes and write down the things that you're thankful for around the holidays that don't have anything to do with consumption other than food maybe, but just what is it that the holidays mean to you, and take it for what you want it to be, but all of the kind of the antithesis of the stress. If the 15 people stress you out, what's great about not having 15 people? Just something like that to get your mind out of the feedback loop that we get when we have these major events in our life, and Christmas is a major event every year. We know when it's coming, and it still creeps up on us. So
True.
with that, thank you guys very much. This has been it's been invigorating to have it on a Monday morning. I really like
let's
that.
go.
So,
Week.
absolutely. Hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your week. Christmas is coming up. Hope you're ready for that. And Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and everything to everyone else. We gone.